Hello, welcome to the Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Micah.
Thanks for joining us for episode 17 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire series by George Martin. Today we're discussing chapter 16 of A Game of Thrones, which is Eddard 3.
As always, we'll chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you, and hopefully provide you with some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what's happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide you some useful background, compare it to the television show, and indulge in a little pedantry. Be sure to check out the show notes. They provide some additional information about the characters and other things of note in this chapter. How's things?
I'm feeling a little displaced this week.
Why? Why is that?
Well, because Stacey Lannister has gotten her way, and they've begun Demonstration. They've begun demolition on our master bath.
I see.
So I'll post some photos on. I'll probably post them on Facebook because I imagine like general Twitter people
probably not that interested
in my bathroom construction. But those of you listening, if you're interested, I'll post some photos along the way. But
feels like you needed a direwolf to intervene at some point to protect the bathroom from its ultimate demise, but
would have been helpful possibly.
Too late.
Yes. If you walked in there now, you'd definitely see it's too late. Just pretty much down to the studs.
Well, that'll be nice. You'll have a new bathroom.
Yes,
and you'll be poor.
Significantly more so.
Yeah. All right, let's get down to business with a quick recap of what Ned was up to previously. He was riding with Robert, begrudgingly discussing who Jon's mother was, and more pertinently trying to steer Robert away from a murderous path against Viserys and Daenerys. Since that time, his daughters and Arya's wolf Nymeria have been involved in a fracas with Prince Joffrey, and Arya has run off into the woods.
Uh-oh.
McKelly, why don't you give us a summary of this chapter?
Okay, so Arya has been missing for 4 days. And Vayon Poole, Ned's steward, brings news to Ned that she's been found by Jory Cassell, thankfully. Less happily, though, the Lannister men on the gate inform the Queen, who insisted she be taken immediately before the King. The King is in the audience chamber of the castle that the gang has requisitioned, while their inexorable progress back to King's Landing is further delayed by this hunt for Arya. The castle belongs to Sir Raymond Derry and is just south of the Inn at the Crossroads. Ned races to join them. The room is full. Only Jaime and the Hound are missing from the people who we know are in the procession. Arya is in the middle of the room with all eyes on her. Ned does not like the optics nor the lack of friendly faces. Robert clearly wants this to be over, but Cersei wants her pound of flesh. Arya gives her side of the story. Renly laughs so much that he has to leave the room. Joffrey gives his side of the story.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Sansa arrives with a chance to clear it all up, but she says she cannot remember anything. Arya attacks her in her rage, which does not help Arya's cause. Cersei demands punishment. Robert asks Ned to discipline Arya. Ned is hugely relieved, but Cersei isn't done. She wants the direwolf, but Nymeria has fled, so she offers 100 golden dragons for Nymeria's pelt, which Robert grumbles at the cost, and Cersei recalls the man she married would have lain a wolfskin upon her bed that night. Robert says that would not be so easy without a wolf, and Cersei springs her hateful trap. "We have a wolf," she says. Robert's reached his capacity for backbone and argument and orders Sir Illian to kill Lady. Sansa cries, Arya cries. Ned protests, Robert insists. Ned at least begs Robert to do it himself, which Robert refuses. Ned tells Sir Illian to back down. He, as Lord of the North, will do it himself. Ned finds Lady and is moved by the name. She's small and sweet, and he uses ice to give her a quick death and sends the body north with 4 men to have it buried at Winterfell. The Lannister woman will not have Lady's skin. On the way back to his room, he sees Clegane returning to the castle with the body of Micah, the butcher's boy. He ran, but not very fast, says the Hound.
It's a rough chapter.
Yeah, it is.
Poor Lady, poor Micah.
Yep.
Neither of them deserved this.
No, I had actually been kind of dreading getting to this chapter. Obviously, I knew it was coming, and I don't know. It's just I hate seeing Sansa lie to defend Joff, and what happens to Lady and Micah. You know, they were both totally innocent.
Yeah, and Micah's not her fault because Micah
right.
was killed absent of her lying.
Yes, two separate things entirely.
But she is kind of responsible for Lady getting it, because if she told the truth, no way Lady gets it.
And poor Ned. You know, I mean, he's an adult, and it's not his pet that's being killed, but he did just have to kill his daughter's pet for no reason.
Yeah.
He has 2 crying little girls.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation all around.
Yeah.
But, the whole thing began over kids just messing around.
Yeah.
And really never should have gotten anywhere near this point.
Although, of course, Joffrey messing around, I mean, he did pull a sword on Micah and cut his cheek. And
That's true. He did.
Yeah.
But now we got a dead Micah, which kind of almost gets forgotten in all the other things that are going on. But
I have a suspicion that there's one person who is not going to forget that, and that's Arya Stark. She's going to hold a grudge on that one, I think.
Yeah. And Sweet Lady, they describe her as the smallest of the litter, the prettiest, and the most gentle.
She was perfect for Sansa.
Yeah. Like I said in the summary, Ned thought Sansa named her well.
The sort of like the ripples of this, though, of course, are the damage this has got to do to the Stark-Lannister relationship generally, because the Lannisters certainly the ones who demanded this, and it was cruel and unreasonable.
Yep.
And
there's already bad blood between them.
Yeah.
This is gonna be something.
Yeah, and I wonder if that sort of jeopardizes the marriage between Joffrey and Sansa, because obviously the point of that marriage is to cement an alliance,
right?
And does Ned even want that anymore? You know?
Right. Who knows how this is gonna play out? So we're not told, but we presume Arya told the events as they happened. She was pretty innocent in the whole thing, so... Well, minus smashing him in the back of the head with a stick.
But that was to protect
right,
Micah, so even that is somewhat innocent.
And she didn't leave out the detail about flinging Lion's Tooth into the water, so it seems like she probably stuck to the truth.
Yeah.
Whereas Joff spins quite the yarn about them beating him with clubs and setting Nymeria on him.
Yeah. It's really hard to imagine listening to those two stories and thinking that privileged, pompous ass is telling the truth.
Right. I mean, first of all, she's 9.
Yeah.
And seriously, has Robert ever met his kid?
Yeah.
I mean, which version seems more likely here? Come on. Just common sense should have ended this a lot faster.
So yeah, I mean, thinking about the relationships that are going to be changed by this chapter, I mean, there's going to be tectonic shifts in some of these relationships.
Absolutely.
It's got to sting Sansa that she's caused Lady's death. How is it going to be between Sansa and Arya going forward when Arya knows full well that Sansa lied, and as a result of Sansa's lie, Sansa's pet died? So I mean, Arya then sort of felt common cause with Sansa.
Right, yes. She shouts out, "Leave Lady alone."
Yeah. But she also must be at the same time, you brought this on yourself.
Kind of.
You just told the truth. This wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Certainly when she decided to lie, she couldn't have guessed, if I do this, my pet wolf is going to be killed.
Right. Yeah, it's not a foreseeable consequence. But there is a foreseeable consequence about how it's going to affect your relationship with your sister.
Right.
I mean, you're absolutely choosing to side with Joffrey, who you know was in the wrong here.
Yeah.
You sided with him against your sister.
Yep.
Because you wanted to protect your relationship with Joffrey more than you cared about hurting your sister.
Yeah, that's it'll be interesting how that plays out. But, the silver lining maybe is that she sees how damaging a lie can be. Maybe she'll be more careful in the future about whipping up lies.
Yeah.
She did lie. She knows what happened. But it's not like she said Joffrey's story is the truth.
Yeah.
So...
But, I mean, that's as good as.
Yes.
The only way Joffrey gets misbelieved, the only way that Joffrey's story is discounted is if more than one person says that his version is not true.
Right, yes. Because he's the crown prince.
Yeah. But of course, the flip side of that, and I think you made this point to me, is that if she had told the truth, then she was jeopardizing her relationship with the Lannisters, with Joffrey and Cersei. So then what would have become of that had she told the truth?
Knowing them as we do, I'm betting they would have held it against her.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, how is this whole situation going to play out between not only Joff and Sansa, but Sansa and Cersei as well?
Yeah, because clearly she just demonstrated to them that she was willing to sacrifice her family
Yeah.
for them.
Right. Yeah. She towed the party line. It's just the wrong party.
Right, yeah. She totally did. So, but at the same time, Joffrey and Cersei's actions are what caused Lady's death here.
Right.
So it's really hard to know how that's going to affect things. I mean, but it also seems to me a very strange way. If I'm Cersei and I see what's going on, I mean, she must know that Joffrey's lying through his teeth. Nothing about Joffrey's story. No, I mean Cersei.
Oh, yeah.
She must know that he's a little liar. But when she sees Sansa do that, she's like, she must think to herself, well, look at that. We have an ally in the Stark camp.
Let's kill her wolf.
Let's kill her pet. So that she hates me forever.
Right. Yeah. Can't you forgive them? I mean, she's still betrothed to Joffrey.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
But...
And at the same time, and maybe Sansa can turn a blind eye to what Joffrey did, because Joffrey got into a lie which led to Lady being killed.
Right.
But he didn't intend that necessarily when he started his lie. So he is a little bit innocent of that. But Cersei really hurt Sansa right at the end of that chapter in a way that she didn't need to. In a way that if Cersei was a little bit more calculating, she might have said to herself, well, let's let bygones be bygones.
Play the long game here.
Yeah. And me and Sansa will have a good relationship, and perhaps she can work on, for the good of the Lannisters.
Yeah. One thing I didn't notice on my first read through of this chapter this week was that while all the crying and pleading is going on, there's one quick sentence that says Joffrey was smiling next to Cersei while it was all happening. So I don't know that Sansa would have noticed in all her dismay, but
probably not.
Yeah,
but if you see it, it would stick. That's for sure.
Sure would.
Yeah. So the other relationship that I think is worth thinking about here is the relationship between Ned and Robert. Now, unusually, I think for Robert, he was actually quite a good guy all the way through this chapter. He listened to Arya. And he listened to Joffrey, and he made some barbed comments that made it seem like he had a pretty good sense of who was telling the truth and who wasn't. And basically, his judgment at the end of it was pretty sound. Ned, you discipline your child, and I'll discipline mine.
Yeah.
Seems like a reasonable outcome from this. But then, when Cersei just kept picking away at him, he just eventually capitulates and then allows and commands that Lady be put to death, which just undoes all that good work. And really, I mean, Ned was really angry about it. You could tell.
He invokes the love they have for each other and the love that Robert had for Lyanna in order to try and save his kids this grief.
Those are his trump cards
there. Yeah. I mean, you really can't get much
and
much more important than that. It did nothing.
Yeah. And then the not carrying out the sentence himself, which is the thing that Ned thinks is an important aspect of leadership.
Yeah.
Can't have surprised Ned, because he knows that Robert has a executioner. But
I was actually thinking about that. If Robert had to do it himself, could he look that wolf that he knows is completely innocent in the eyes and swing a sword through her neck, or however he wants to kill her?
And yes, that's a good question, and I think that is actually why Ned said you should do it yourself.
Right.
For that reason. Because he knows that when it comes to it, Ned would say, could you send this wolf back to Winterfell?
Right.
Send a couple of guys with it, and maybe have a spare one at Winterfell?
Right.
Ned would have been like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Done.
In fact, the way the chapter ends, I thought several times that that's what they should have done anyway.
Right, yeah.
Because they ship the body off to Winterfell before anyone sees it.
Right. I had that same thought.
Poor Lady. Maybe if I could just read between the lines and pretend it's not happening. Lady's actually fine. She's just gone back to Winterfell to live with the others.
This is just the story they told Cersei.
Exactly.
Or at the very least, let her free. Yeah.
Although it feels like Nymeria was more inclined to live the sort of lone wolf life out there.
True.
The way Lady looked a little pampered.
Although in my mind, Lady and Nymeria meet up again because they're not too far from each other, and just half a day's ride, I think, right? So they can cover that distance, find each other, and be a dynamic duo somewhere in the Riverlands.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so Ned and Cersei, again, just thinking about relationships, Ned and Cersei. I mean, there wasn't an awful lot of friendship between the two of them to begin with, but this was pointlessly cruel.
Yeah.
He's not going to forgive her. I mean, he doesn't forgive anyone for anything. He's not going to forgive her for this.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes. Yeah, there's same with the General Lannisters and Starks. There's even more direct bad blood between Cersei and Ned.
Yeah.
So this certainly is not going to help matters.
Yeah. I mean, I think on some levels, just trying to think about why she doubled down on this and insisted that Lady be put to death. Her son has been wounded by this, presumably scarred. I mean, if a wolf bites your arm, it's probably not going to heal completely. And so she couldn't help herself but try to exact a measure of vengeance against the Starks generally, because she sees the direwolf as absolutely the embodiment of all things Stark.
Right. Yeah.
So one of those bites her son. She wants her pound of flesh.
Yeah. Or her wolfskin.
Yeah.
Oh, they were so close to getting out of this whole thing without too much damage.
Yeah.
Well, not knowing yet about Micah's fate.
Right.
But she just couldn't let be. Like you said, she sees the direwolves as the embodiment of the Stark, so she just wasn't going to let go. And Ned, being the only adult in the room, he's the only one that does the really hard thing, which is, I, as the Lord of the North, will do this myself. Yeah. Kill my own daughter's little pet. Not that little, I guess. But.
Just going back to Ned and Robert, I think the other aspect of this that might affect their relationship is Micah, because I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, but if Robert does not censure the Hound for killing Micah, then that's going to not sit well with Ned either.
Right.
Because he wasn't happy with the Targaryen children being killed, and there was a political reason to do that. There's absolutely no reason to kill Micah.
Right. Yeah.
He hasn't done a damn thing.
That's a good point.
We don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Right.
Micah's body only just arrived. But
Clegane doesn't seem too concerned about any consequences.
No, he does not. Yeah. So another relationship worth mentioning here is Renly and Joffrey. So if you remember, Renly is Robert's brother, so Joffrey's uncle. And we noticed last time that there was bad blood between them.
Yeah.
That Joffrey stared hatefully at Renly over something or nothing.
A look of loathing,
yeah. And what happens in this chapter is that when Arya is telling her story, and she basically talks about, with a stick, disarming Joffrey, scaring the living daylights out of him and throwing his sword in the river, Renly laughs and laughs until he has to leave the room.
Right.
And as he leaves the room, he mutters Lion's Tooth, which is the name of Joffrey's sword, and laughs some more, which is...
Yeah, he does make a good point. I mean, how a 9-year-old girl the size of a wet rat disarms him and throws his sword in the river is his... He says, perchance someday you'll tell me how this happened, as he's leaving. Oh, man.
But yeah, I still don't understand the source of the animosity, but it's great. I mean, it's really good that someone is bringing Joffrey down to size.
And I think his voice is the common thought in the room. He's just the only one brave enough, or secure enough,
senior enough, yeah,
to actually voice it. So, yeah, I like that. It's like you said. I wonder. We'll get to a backstory, possibly, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
There's.
I will say that I've basically forgotten that backstory, if there is some.
Right.
So I'm excited to discover what it is.
I'm excited to discover when you dream about it and tell me what you...
So Ned and Sansa is another relationship that might be affected by this. Ned must know that she's lying.
He does know she's lying. He says, he doesn't say, but his thoughts are, she told him the story the night that Arya went missing.
The true story.
Yeah, so his thought is, I know the truth. Sansa told me the truth. Sansa, tell everyone the truth.
The story Arya's just presented is the same story.
Apparently, unless it's not. Yeah. But
Arya had no reason to lie. Her story paints her in a reasonable light, and Joffrey in a terrible light. So
yeah. So it just, I just don't get why he doesn't push her harder. If she has already told him the story, then he knows she hasn't forgotten and can't remember anything. So why does he just let her say that and sit by silently while he knows is lying and not protecting her sister? So I was thinking about what his reasoning for sitting quietly could be. Maybe he didn't expect Arya to be punished all that hard. I mean,
yeah, or maybe
he's gotta know Cersei's out for blood. So
yeah, but maybe he can't. I mean, perhaps it's a calculation which initially proved right when Robert says, "Okay, Ned, you discipline your daughter."
Right.
Ned is thinking to himself, "Yeah,
Yes.
fist pump. I got it just right." There was no reason to get Sansa to say the truth, thus shaming Joffrey and causing even more of a problem here than we might otherwise have had.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, he definitely underestimated Cersei's willingness to ruin relationships for the sake of her revenge. Yeah. But then the other side of that is then that perhaps does help to rectify Ned and Sansa's relationship, because Ned had the opportunity to say, "Wait a minute, lady, you're lying here.
Right,
You told me the truth earlier."
Yeah.
But he didn't, and so now he's not going to tell her off for not telling the truth because he made that calculation at that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's no point telling her afterwards, "You should have told the truth." If
Right.
you want me to tell the truth, Dad, tell me in there before my direwolf gets put to death.
Yeah, that's a good point. So there's even more relationships that
I swear, this whole chapter just has like amazing effects on the relationships.
Yeah. Robert and Cersei, the back and forth between the king and the queen is pretty revealing. She, without consulting Robert, offers a hefty reward for Nymeria, which, as I mentioned in the summary, I believe, he grumbles about.
Yeah, he actually says, "I want no part of this. You can damn well buy your furs with Lannister gold."
Yes, which they have plenty of, so
Right,
shouldn't
true.
put her out very much. When Ned pleads with him to spare Lady, when he pleads with Robert to spare Lady, Robert looks at Cersei with loathing and says, "Damn you, Cersei."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Doesn't bother answering Ned. Just,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the earlier talk, mostly in Bran 2, when Cersei and Jaime are talking about Robert dying early, how Cersei wouldn't mind if Robert were to die, and her concern that someday he might replace her with a new Lyanna, in reference to Lyanna Stark. That makes some sense. It seems you get a clearer picture of why she's thinking that way.
Yeah. Although I think it was interesting that she mentioned the man I married would have had a wolf's skin on my bed tonight, sort of thing. I wonder if that is an attempt to sort of like stir him into action,
right?
To try and do something for their relationship. I mean,
I think it might be,
or was it just to put him down? You know, just to be mean to him because
might have been a little
she's
both.
Cersei.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't look good for their relationship.
I wonder if that is true. If their relationship was once upon a time strong.
Well, I mean, they got married pretty quickly after the rebellion was over, right?
Right.
Pretty much straight away. And he was in his prime then.
Yes.
I mean,
maybe.
I don't know. I mean, obviously it was a relationship. It was a marriage for political reasons rather than out of love. So, yeah, difficult to know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes. But we get further evidence of Robert's fight and spine having a very short half-life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's so disappointing because everything he did was good and decent in this whole chapter.
Yeah, he was on a roll.
Yeah, he really was.
Very proud of him.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a king.
Yeah.
He's making just decisions, not just easy decisions.
You're being slightly kind. I mean, he was like, he was just doing the logical thing.
Right, that's a good
Given
point.
what you heard, he should have said what he said.
That's a good point.
But then he just gives up. I mean, just throws up his hands and says, "All right, have it your way," you know.
Yeah. He does make some valid points, too. When Cersei says she wants Arya punished, he says, "She's a child. Should I have her whipped through the streets?"
Right. You probably shouldn't ask Cersei questions like that.
That's a good...
You're risking.
Yeah. And also, when Cersei mentions that your son will carry these scars for life, he says, yeah, maybe let that be a lesson to him.
Right, yeah.
So he knows. He knows what happened.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
He might be lazy, but he's not an idiot.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah, so the last relationship which takes a ding here is probably one that was never going to be very good anyway, which is Ned and Sandor Clegane, the Hound.
Yes.
Because
Clegane... they couldn't be much more different, those two. Robert and Ned are different, but in a good, they're different in ways that they can still come together and be best friends. These two, not going to happen.
The thing is, actually, they have quite a few similarities, though. I mean, they're both big and strong and sort of fierce and sort of single-minded. But Ned and the Hound.
Okay.
But one of them is fundamentally decent and the other one is really horrible. So that's where they differ.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Ned's already, been outspoken about what he thinks about child murder. And then this is one more to add to that list. So
yeah,
I think Ned will want to see some punishment, and certainly the Hound doesn't think he's about to get any. So.
He certainly doesn't seem concerned about it. But also, it's just more examples of poor male role models for Joffrey.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this. I think most times when Clegane comes up is, if this is the guy that Joffrey is looking up to, might explain why he's the way that he is.
Yeah. And then the other, I mean, obviously this echoes the other child murder that we've mentioned, which was
the
King Aerys's
kids.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, Rhaegar's children, not Aerys's. Aerys's grandchildren, in fact. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But it was coincidentally, it was the Hound's brother,
yes,
Gregor Clegane, who presented those bodies to Robert/Ned.
Yeah.
And Ned witnessed that too, and has never forgiven him for that. So it's sort of like a backshadowing.
Right. Yeah. Something going on with Cleganes and killing kids and presenting them to the Baratheons, I guess.
Yeah. And what you said last week about that actually was interesting, because I think last week you said...
I said something interesting?
You did. You always do. You always do. That Robert... Well, I think we both talked about this. Robert may not have actually witnessed the dead children. That it was just Ned who saw them.
Right.
And so that may have had more of an effect. Perhaps here... Robert's going to see dead Micah, and actually have some.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
I think that's not going to happen.
No, probably not.
He's already done for the day. He had a few moments of good judgment, and then he's off to have a few drinks. Now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We get a little bit of description of the environment that this whole thing is set in, and it's mentioned that the space is too small for dairymen, Lannistermen, Starkmen, and the King's men all to be crammed together. So even if Robert had cleared Nymeria and Arya of any wrongdoing, the situation is still a bit of a powder keg. So now that Lady's dead and Micah's dead, they better get moving fast before war erupts between these factions here.
Yeah, I think you just mentioned dairymen, and I'm not sure we mentioned in the summary of the chapter that that's whose castle they're in now. They've gone to the Darry's castle, which is in the town of Darry. And I pronounce that Darry.
Yeah.
You're more Derry.
Oh, okay.
Just
Darry.
Just a little bit to me, but...
It's my Western Pennsylvania accent.
That's it, yeah.
Shining through.
But for those who don't remember, we've mentioned the Darry family before as a family who probably are quite loyal to the Targaryen cause.
Yeah.
So their presence here adds to the mix. I mean, you've got Lannisters and Starks not liking each other. Baratheons probably not liking the Lannisters very much, even though they're cheek and jowl with them all the time. But the Darry men hating all of these people because they're Targaryen loyalists.
Yes.
So, it definitely is a powder keg, that one.
Yep.
So, to background, they're at Darry, the home of House Darry. They're Targaryen loyalists. Their former cousin Willem Darry exfiltrated the young Viserys and Daenerys to Essos from Dragonstone. So when the royal party, the usurpers' royal party,
Right.
brings 400 uninvited guests into their ancestral home, it's maybe not going to build a bridge. The current head is Sir Raymond, and he lost 3 brothers in Robert's rebellion, fighting against Robert. So.
It's mentioned in the chapter that Sir Raymond lives under the king's peace, but is not a fan.
Yeah.
Is not a fan of Robert or probably any of these houses here. So.
Right. Because the Lannisters, the Starks, and the Baratheons were probably the biggest beneficiaries of the
Targaryen demise.
Yeah. Well, maybe not the Starks. I mean, what did the Starks gain from it, really?
True.
They were Lords of the North. They went back to being Lords of the North.
I guess having a friend on the throne probably has some benefits, but otherwise, they certainly lost a lot at the hands of the Targaryens. So maybe just justice.
That's true.
Is what they gained from it.
But if that's your yardstick for loyalty, you should be loyal to the Targaryens, despite what they've done to your family. And I hate the fact that you've benefited by revenge.
Right, that's true. I forgot the reason we were talking about what the Starks gained. Yeah, the Darys, How are you saying?
I would say Darry.
Darys.
Darry, yeah.
The Darys.
But you see that goes to my pronunciation because, Princess Leia, her real name.
What is her name?
The actress.
Oh, Carrie Fisher.
So say it again.
Carrie Fisher.
You see, that's not bad actually. That sounded like how I say it.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher. But how do you say the name Kerry?
Carrie.
You see now that sounded the same.
Carrie and Carrie.
Yeah.
Yes, I would pronounce that the same.
See, those for me are totally different names.
Yeah?
That's Kerry.
Kerry.
And Carrie.
Okay.
One's got an in it and one's got an in it. Kerry and Carrie.
So do you pronounce boy and girl Aaron differently? Like Aaron and Erin?
Oh, yeah, I do. Not like that, though. So girl, Erin would be
Erin.
Erin and Aaron.
Aaron and Erin.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had a friend in college named Erin, Erin, and she pointed out multiple times that it's Erin, not Aaron.
Yeah, she's right.
I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But okay. Anyway, so a little bit more information about the Darry. Is that it?
Why are we going to have this again?
The Darry house. So as Darry, which is both the name of the holdfast and the surname of the family that lives in the holdfast. So as Darry is in the Riverlands, they own fealty to House Tully, which is would be Catelyn Stark's father, Hoster Tully. Their sigil is a black plowman on a brown field. The house is old, tracing its ancestry back to the first men, as the Darrys fought the Andals during the Andal invasion of Westeros. During Robert's Rebellion, as we mentioned, they fought for King Aerys against their own liege lord, Hoster Tully, as I just mentioned, until the bitter end. So they were really entrenched in the Targaryen camp. The defeat of the Targaryens cost the Darrys half of their lands, most of their wealth, and almost all their power. So yeah, things are probably not warm and cozy around Darry at the moment.
I mean, you could see it as an honor that they came to your castle. They didn't have to.
Possibly.
They chose to, but yeah. No, it's not going to work.
Probably not.
So, comparison with the TV show, still cleaving very close to the book. In the TV show, they stay at the Crossroads Inn where they were, which honestly makes a bit more sense.
Yeah.
Really, but
right.
The dialogue's almost perfectly intact. Renly, as we mentioned, is not present, and so some of his scornful remarks to Joffrey are put into the mouth of King Robert in the TV show.
Okay, right.
Not as strong, but some of the sort of like cynicalness about him getting
the silliness of his story.
Yes, yeah. The show drops the conversation about the reward for Nymeria's pelt.
The 100 golden dragons.
100 golden dragons.
Which is a fortune for one wolf pelt.
There is a nice touch in the show. As the girls are escorted from the meeting, Sansa, as described in the book, is crying inconsolably. But Arya is not crying anymore. She's staring malevolently at Queen Cersei.
Oh, boy.
So, and just one other thing. Show Ned doesn't bother asking for ice. He just uses a dagger to kill a lady.
Huh. That's an interesting difference.
Yeah. Possibly more convenient for killing a dog.
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, you get use the big sword if you got people holding the guy down.
Right.
But if it's just you and the dog, it might be easy just to slip the dagger in.
Yeah.
So pedantry, I just mentioned it in the TV show thing. Why, if you're looking for a runaway, would you move? She might come back.
That's a solid point, yeah.
Don't move down the road. Now, they did mention in the last chapter that there wasn't enough room at the inn for everybody, so I can understand sort of like splitting it up.
Yeah.
And that also would have annoyed the Darries a bit less. If you
Right.
maybe you send the Queen and her attendants to the Darries' castle.
Right.
And the searchers stay focused at the Crossroads Inn.
Yep.
That would make a lot more sense.
Yeah. They need some sort of plan, someone who knows how to put together a plan in this party, I guess.
Yeah.
You would think with all the important people on this trip, someone would know how to put together a search party.
But I guess probably they were relying on the Hand, and he was probably a little bit frazzled by the fact it was his daughter that was missing.
That's true. We didn't really mention that at the beginning of the chapter. It is said that Ned is basically exhausted because he hasn't slept in 3 days, constantly leading search parties for Arya. And he did return back to the castle because he could barely stand. We forgot to mention that.
Yeah, and actually that is another difference to the TV show, because in the TV show, he is actively searching when word arrives that she's been found.
Oh, okay.
But she's been found by the Lannisters, and they've taken her straight to the king. So
right.
just a slight difference,
Yeah.
but the end point being the same. I also think maybe that there's just a sense of he was in the castle. His daughter's missing and he was in the castle.
Right.
I don't care how tired you are, man. Get back out there, you know.
No news and notes this week, huh?
I don't think so.
We need some news and notes.
We do. We've had some nice exchanges on Twitter.
Yes.
A couple of people saying they liked recent episodes.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
good. I like that. And I'll post my bread recipe if anyone's interested. It's pretty good. I just actually had a McKelly's family piece of toast, and it was very, very good. If you hear me coughing, that's the crumbs from the toast. But it was good. It was using my recipe, but Stacey, she takes things her own way.
She does.
She is not hidebound by me. I follow it to the letter every time.
She likes to go off on her own. Yeah. Yes, she's added a bread bowl for, I don't even know, proofing. I don't even understand what that means or what that does.
It's not in my recipe. That's what I tell you.
If it's not in your recipe,
I ain't doing it.
right.
So, concluding all this, I think this is a real turning point for at least what's going on Westeros anyway.
Yeah.
A rift between the Starks and the Lannisters that's hard to imagine any marriage would heal if that marriage is still on.
Yeah, yeah. And also the rift between Ned and Robert. Ned is his new Hand of the King. I can't imagine this is going to cause them to split. They haven't even made it to King's Landing yet.
Yeah, but
there's definitely going to be some hurt feelings and some issues.
And
here.
it's reinforcing all of the worries that Ned had about it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
like we had said earlier, where does Sansa and Joff go from here? Can they reconcile?
yeah, I think there's a chance. Like I think as we talked about it, it occurred to me that if she has an axe to grind, it would be more with Cersei than with Joffrey.
Right.
But hey, I mean, he caused all this. He started that. He bullied Micah and Arya, and that's what led to all this. So.
Yeah.
And then lied through his teeth about it.
If she's not seeing the red flags now, I don't know. I got nothing for her.
She's still 12.
Yeah.
Every week we have to remind ourselves
That's
she's
true.
still 12.
Yeah, although, their marriage was arranged, so unless Ned and Robert agree to have them part ways...
But that's what... I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter what she thinks, yeah.
Right.
But I wonder about that. If I was Ned, I mean, do I want an alliance with... Well, it's with Robert, isn't it?
Right,
That's the thing. It's sealing your family to Robert's family.
Yeah, his best friend and the
Cersei's
king.
family too.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
And can Arya forgive Sansa for betraying her? It's
Yeah.
another one that we'll have to see. I think the one thing about that, the one thing in favour of that one healing itself, is the fact that the conclusion of all of this, they are equally upset about the outcome.
Right.
They will cry into each other's shoulders, presumably, about the fact that Lady's being put to death.
Hopefully.
And Arya's lost Nymeria.
Yeah, they've both lost their wolves.
We're not sure how or when Arya could get Nymeria back. Presumably, the whole 100 golden dragons still hangs over Nymeria's head. So if
Yeah,
Arya ever does
exactly.
find Nymeria again, she's going to have to look after her very carefully.
Yeah. So, maybe they can bond over the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
So.
But again, Sansa is not literally yet in bed with that enemy.
Right.
So
But this group hasn't even reached King's Landing yet.
they should have gone by boat.
They
really
should have.
should.
They definitely should have.
This has caused all kinds of trouble.
So is this group going to be able to coexist even in the vast Red Keep, which is the main castle in King's Landing,
I mean, they'll have a little bit more room to
Right.
not be in each other's grills, but still.
Goodness.
Yeah. But they will also not be on a journey. You know, when you're on a journey, you can think, well, this is just the journey at the other end. But
Right.
once you're in one place living with these people.
Yeah, day in and day out.
Day out, yeah,
routines.
exactly,
Yeah. But knowing Robert as we do, he's likely going to just want everyone to forget and move on because he seems a bit too lazy to try mediation or anything that might work to heal these wounds.
I'm going to go out on a limb and think the next day Robert will have forgotten this ever happened.
Agree.
None of this will have stuck with him even slightly.
I agree.
So you can reach us at ghost.harrenhall@gmail.com. You follow us on Twitter at @ghostharrenhall. Now we're on Facebook too.
Yeah, that's right. And here comes our plea for getting the word out. If you like what we're doing, please consider leaving a review on iTunes or at podchaser.com. That would be a great way to help us out. We'd really appreciate that. And of course, we certainly wouldn't mind if you tweeted or Facebooked about us as well.
Great. Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.